Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you all again this morning. This week, I have chosen to skip Gaffney's gospel choice for the fourth week of Epiphany because it is the genealogy of Jesus found in the Gospel of Luke. Now, I know that some people actually find it quite fascinating to geek out on biblical genealogies, but I couldn't figure out a way to make it an interesting guided contemplation for one. So sorry, we're not going to be spending this hour pondering ancient, difficult for me to pronounce names that really would have been very significant to the original readers of the Gospels, but not very compelling for us. So bummer, sorry to let anyone down that was really excited about the genealogies. In this week's email, if you looked at it, I did include the references for Epiphany 4, week 4, and Epiphany week 5, which we are skipping to today. Put this on Do Not Disturb. Okay. Just in case any of you want to spend time with all 8 of the texts this week. So instead of contemplating Jesus's lineage from Adam to Joseph, as reported by Luke, we will be spending this hour enjoying a wedding celebration, overflowing with shockingly good wine, as told by John. Before we do that, though, I do want to read you parts of Gaffney's commentary on this week's text because I found what she had to say really interesting. She says, the marriage metaphor that so often symbolizes the relationship between God and Israel and Christ and the church has its roots in real human relationships. Marriage becomes a sacrament to make manifest the love of God in and between two people within a communal context. Marriage is socially constructed in and out of the Bible. Abduction and rape marriages, polygamous marriages, and hierarchical domineering marriages are all biblical. But few would call them epiphanies of God's love. She goes on to say, marriage is heteronormative in the biblical text. Our understanding of the human person and sexuality has evolved since the text, and marriage continues to be shaped to make known the wideness of God's love. It is for this reason that the Blessed Virgin chose to reveal her son's glory at the wedding in Cana. In John 2, Mary, the mother of Jesus, prompts him to reveal himself in the miracle that is understood as the formal inauguration of his public ministry. In so doing, she leaves us with profound instructions for our Christian faith in verse 5. Do whatever he, Jesus, tells you. Skipping a couple of paragraphs, she ends her commentary by saying, in the scriptures, joy is widely associated with wine, a challenge for those living with addiction or living sober lives for other reasons. The abundance of wine at the Cana wedding represented an abundance of joy, a theme that connects these lectionary readings. That joy characterizes Epiphany well. We are constantly being reminded that God is here, manifest with us. And that indeed is joyous. So without further ado, I will light my candle as a symbol of God's presence with us here today. And if you brought a candle, I invite you to light yours as well. There we go. And I pray for the following graces. To know Jesus more intimately, to love him more intensely, and to follow him more closely. John 2, 1-11. On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now, standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the steward called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this, the first of his signs, in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory. And his disciples believed in him. The word of the Lord. So before I guide you through the passage with questions and pauses, let us take a couple of centering breaths, breathing in God's Spirit and breathing out anything that distracts you from being in the presence of God. And I pray again for today's graces. To know Jesus more intimately, to love him more intensely, and to follow him more closely. I invite you to enter the story. On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee. As you enter the scene of the wedding, what are you feeling? Are you excited that the busy harvest season is now complete and you are invited to rest and feast at this celebratory festival for the next several days. The whole town has been invited to the wedding. Look around you. Do you see the young girl who is getting married? What does she look like? Does she look nervous? What is she wearing? Is she standing with the young man who is to become her husband? How do they interact with each other? What kind of music is playing? Perhaps people are singing familiar love tunes from the Songs of Solomon. What kinds of food are piled high on the banquet table? Take a breath in and smell the aroma of the food. What do you choose to eat? How does it taste? Who do you visit with as you mingle through the crowd? And the mother of Jesus was there. Do you go over to Mary and visit with her? What do you talk about? Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. Do you see Jesus and the people who have begun to follow him? What do you notice about Jesus? Is there anything that draws you to him? Or does something prompt you to keep your distance? When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." Had you noticed that the wine was running low before you saw Mary mention it to Jesus? Are you gripped with the fear of scarcity? And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." What do you feel as you hear Jesus say this to his mother? What does he mean when he says that his hour has not yet come? His hour for what? His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." How did the servants respond to Mary's words? Why would Jesus tell them to do anything? Didn't he just indicate that the wine situation wasn't his problem? Now, standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. What do these huge stone jars look like? Have they been used recently? Do they have anything in them? Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. Purification jars must be filled with running water, or living water, as it is also known. How far away from the party do the servants need to go to find living water to put in the jars? How long does it take them to fill up 6 huge jars? And why 6? Such an abundant amount of water. Do they question Jesus's very odd request? Wouldn't their time be better spent going to purchase more wine? Are they exhausted when they finally return from their journey to the water source and back? Jesus said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. What might the servants be thinking as they serve purification water to the chief steward? Do they fear how he will respond? When the steward tasted the water that had become wine and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the steward called the bridegroom. How does the steward react to the taste of what he's drinking? What is his facial expression? Do the servants know that the water is now wine? How do they respond when the steward calls over the bridegroom? And the steward said to the bridegroom, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." How does the bridegroom react to this compliment? Was he confused? Did he even know that the wine had run out? How do the servants react? And the other guests, are they paying attention to this interaction? When they drink this water, purification, living water that has changed to wine? What does it taste like? Do they notice the quality of the flavor? Jesus did this, the first of his signs in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory. To whom did Jesus reveal his glory? How many people at the wedding celebration knew what had happened? And his disciples believed in him. Do you believe in him? What do you believe? I invite you to spend the next 10 minutes in a colloquy with the divine. Speak to God about what you experienced during this contemplation, especially the parts of the story that caused you to experience strong emotions, the parts that gave you great joy or left you feeling uneasy. What might God want to say to you about your life as it relates to this story? When I sound my chimes, that will indicate that you have about a minute to wrap up your conversation with God, after which time I will end the silence with a reading from the Song of Songs. If you're doing this contemplation later with the recording, go ahead and hit pause now so that you can spend as much time in silent contemplation as you feel you need. Then restart the video when you are ready to hear the closing reading. I will close our time of silence with this week's Old Testament passage, which is from the Song of Songs or Song of Solomon. Perhaps this song was sung at the wedding in Cana. Song 4, 9 through 15. You have taken my heart, my sister, my bride. You have taken my heart with a glance of your eyes, with a single jewel of your necklace. How beautiful is your love, my sister, my bride. How much better is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your oils than every spice. Nectar drops from your lips, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. The fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon. A garden locked is my sister, my bride. A garden locked, a fountain sealed. Your limbs are an orchard of pomegranates with luscious fruits, henna with nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with all kinds of frankincense trees, myrrh and aloes, with all superior spices. A garden fountain, a well of living water, and flowing streams from Lebanon. Amen.